Breaking news. So we're waiting on the trial to resume. I think I accidentally unplugged the internet. Breaking news. So we're waiting on the trial to resume. I think I accidentally unplugged the internet. That was really obnoxious. Anyway, Zelensky has apparently issued not a statement. He was giving a speech somewhere today. And he says it's dangerous for Americans to question the amount of aid being given to Ukraine, because if Ukraine loses, Russia is going to enter Baltic states, NATO member states, and the U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters to war, and they will be dying. So according to Zelensky, we should all be thankful that our government just announced today that they're going to be sending an additional $2 billion worth of military aid and financial support to Ukraine. $2 billion. Just in case you guys didn't know. Hell, man, for $2 billion, I could have the world's biggest coffee company conglomerate. I could just give me 10% of that. Just 10%. That's $200 million. Shit, just give me 10% of that. That's still $20 million. Fine, give me 10% of that. $2 million. See? I could do some crazy stuff with $2 million. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Once I just saw that statement, I was like, this is outrageous. Outrageous. They're never going to let us, they're never going to let it end. Ever. So anyway, I'm waiting like all of you for the next minute or two for this trial to resume. It's going to resume at 2:15. The prosecution is still questioning Alex Murdaugh. They are now just starting to get to the murder part of it, after 9 hours, something like that, something insane. They're now just starting to get to the actual murder conversation. So that's interesting. But yeah, this should be beginning any momento, which should be fun. As a reminder, too, if you weren't watching earlier today, Eric Ramens made wicked pasta. Yeah, with ramen. See what I did there? Super original. I'm sure you've never heard that joke before. Anyway, what I suggest you guys all do in the brief time that you have left is go over to Pure Truth Coffee and buy some coffee, buy a t-shirt, buy a hoodie. You know why? Because we're having a flash sale during our live stream today, good until 5 o'clock, where if you buy coffee, t-shirts, or hoodies, you automatically get 20% off. 20% off. 20% off. That's it. It's amazing. Someone said, why the hell did I get booted off? Did you close the stream? No, I actually think I accidentally unplugged my internet when I was vacuuming. I've been trying to be productive. So like all day today, I've been getting out what coffee orders I can, getting ready for this big batch of coffee that's coming in, several 100 pounds of coffee that's getting delivered today. And then I have to get ready to package and weigh and scale and grind up all that coffee. So I'm trying to straighten up everything, because when I do the coffee packing, the entire area gets messy, just because it's a very dusty thing. So, yep, that's it. So I got everything all set. I got even my shipping room. So the way this place is all set up is I have multiple rooms that serve multiple purposes. So I have the kitchen area, which is also the kitchen for the store, where I do the scale, the weighing of the coffee, the sealing of the coffee, the grinding of the coffee is all done there because we have to for USDA certification. But then I have a shipping room, which is right here, which has all my boxes. It's got all the goodies for the Patriotic SF ammo cans. It's got a table for shipping. It's got the shipping computer, all that good stuff. It's just a room with a ton of shelves and a big long ass table plus a computer. And that's where I do all the shipping from. I've got this, which is my studio/office, which is where I work. I've got another office in the back that I don't use. It's just storage now. And then another kitchen area that I don't use. And then the bathroom. And then a bunch of other storage. And then I've got more storage on the other side of the studio in a concrete room there. Call it my bunker room. But yeah. Teresa said, Steve, do you have anything near hazelnut? Yeah, we'll have hazelnut next week. We don't have it yet, but we will next week. I haven't ordered it, so we're not putting it up for sale because I have to have it in stock. I'm learning, but I have to have it in stock. But we have the Fiery But Peaceful, and I believe that is our best smelling coffee. Because you know on Valentine's Day how you get those little red things that are like hot cinnamon candies that are really, really good? That's what the coffee smells like. It smells so freaking good. I don't like flavored coffee. Like we just tested the hazelnut coffee. My wife said it's very good. I don't like hazelnut coffee. So I can't tell. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Yum. Someone said, today is a great day to do it. What are you talking about? Sharing the stream, or are you talking about buying coffee? What I really need, Ron, Roy on Facebook. What's up, Mr. Goatee? What I need all you guys to do is go buy the coffee, the bug out bag, this new bag that we're just putting out. It's pretty important. Okay, here, I'll show you real quick, because why the fuck not? Anyway, this is our bug out bag. Nope, this isn't it. This is a coffee bundle that we have. If you go over to bundles, that's where it is. This is our newest product. This is a pre-order that we're not shipping until April 1st. Listen, we're launching the biggest bundle ever. This bundle includes everything you need if you find yourself needing to get out quickly while making sure you have your favorite coffee and supplies right with you. Each bag includes a tactical bag and patch kit. Now, this tactical bag is going to be specialty embroidered with our logo on it. Sick. It's going to have all sorts of new custom patches, funny patches, everything. It's going to come with 2 metal camp mugs, which are right here. It's going to come with a portable coffee percolator, a camping percolator, which you see right there. It's going to come with a can. Yes, I said can of Wake Up America coffee. We ordered 100 specialty coffee cans. These are going to be limited edition for this first run, and I'm pretty excited about it. But yep, you're going to get the first 100 cans of the Wake Up America Breakfast Blend, a portable water filtration system so you can make your coffee on the go, a 250-piece tactical survival pouch that has everything you need. I think it's got tourniquets, knives, multi-tools, big first aid kit, tent, it's got everything in it. Either 2 t-shirts or a hoodie, depending on which one you choose up there. A patch hat, so you could put all the cool patches on it, and so much more. In fact, it's so much more that one person is going to get this computer. This is a 2020 iMac. I'm going to sneeze, and I got to switch over so you guys don't see that, because when I sneeze, it's horrible right now because everything's working its way out finally. But the iMac is a 2020 Retina 5K, blah, blah. I think it's got an i5. It's a 27-inch, big-ass, expensive-ass iMac computer. And the reason I'm giving it away is because I hate this freaking computer. As you guys know, it's a big, bulky thing. It's what I'm using. It's got a really good camera, as you can see. That's one of the reasons why I use it. But namely, I use this software. However, I'm going back to another software that I have on the other computer, which is way more beastier than this. So, yeah. Just go get this bug out bag right now while we're waiting for this trial to begin. And because the trial's still not on, don't worry. Yeah, you're going to want to. I need to sell 7 more of these a day. I've got a daily goal to sell 7 more of these. So there is the link in the chat. And yep. Someone said Dayquil to the rescue. No, I mean, I'm over everything now. I actually feel good. But the reason, you see what's going on with it all is, I I don't know what it was. It was a really bad sinus infection, but it kind of just got locked up in my, like behind my eyes and my brain. I don't know. And it wouldn't go. Like I didn't have a runny nose. I didn't have a cough. I just had, I felt congested as shit and very lethargic and headaches. And then over the past 2 days, I've started getting better. I've still been sleeping on the couch so my wife doesn't get sick because every now and then I have a spontaneous sneeze that includes more snot than you've ever seen in your life. And I can't control it. There was one, I sneezed last night or the night before, like in my sleep. Dude, I had to go take a shower because my beard looked a different color. It was disgusting. I was so disgusted. I may have puked too. I don't remember because I'm also a germaphobe. So when I sneezed and got stuff all over my beard, then I freaked out because of the grossness. But long story short, I'm good. I'm good. My family's good. They're not sick. They were. I got sick from them. So, because first the little guy had it, and then my wife actually had it. She was really stuffy, and she was having the headaches as well. So she went to bed a couple of nights early, and I slept on the couch. Why? Because, well, I make videos all day. I can't get sick. So I slept on the couch, but I still got sick. And, of course, I got way sicker than she did. But yeah. Boys are doing good. Older boy is doing good. His grades are doing good, I think. I don't check it. My wife does. And younger boy is, he's getting his shit together. He's been a little rambunctious. He made my wife cry the other day just by being mean, so he got grounded. And the older boy got grounded too because he was messing around, trying to be funny, but he was trying to be my type of funny with like the shit I say to my wife. Which he is certainly not allowed to say to her, which is now meaning I can't say it anymore because now he's trying to do the stuff I did. He told her to quit her job. Like when he's like, Mom, how come I can't get more allowance? And she's like, because we can't afford to give you more allowance. And he's like, you need to quit your job and go work with Dad. And she like got really mad. And she told me about it. And I was like, all right, dude, you're grounded. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, you can't say that to your mom. And he's like, yeah, I know. He knew. He knew he couldn't do it. So he got grounded. Look, my neighbor. I see him on camera from my house. My next door neighbor just drove by my store. I don't know if they know this is my store because I don't talk to my neighbors. I just like their truck. I call it Big Blue. It's a big old Chevy, like a 1980s Chevy. I like their truck. But yep. So they're doing good. I'm sleeping in bed tonight. I don't care. I've been able to fall asleep really quickly the whole time I was sick. But last night, even though I decided that I'd sleep on the bed for one more night for my wife, so she could get sleep, I could not fall asleep last night worth of shit. I ended up turning off the TV around 12:30, and I think I finally dozed off around 1:30. Just laying in the dark. Just couldn't fall asleep. Anyway, the trial's back on. Go right now and get your coffee bag, please. I need to sell 7 more of these things today. 7 more. If you want to help me change the way coffee is consumed, please. I mean it. Just buy this coffee bag. Or buy a bag of coffee, anything. It helps me know that you guys appreciate me live streaming this whole
Mr.
thing.
Griffin, do you wanted to put something on the record?
Right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now
Thank
I'll
you.
Shut up.
During cross-examination of Mr. Murdaugh, he had testified that in relation to the financial crimes that he had tried to meet with the Attorney General's office and that on multiple occasions and that he had, from the get-go, had always been willing to sit down with them. He was specifically talking about the financial investigation and the charges which he received as a result of those investigations. Following up to that questioning, that answer, Mr. Waters then went to Mr. Murdaugh's testimony and the information he provided about being down at the kennel, and he said you had never provided that information to law enforcement and other people until today or yesterday. And Your Honor, that is a direct violation of Dole v. Ohio, where the Supreme Court said that cross-examining the defendant about his failure to have told an exculpatory story after receiving Miranda warnings at the time of his arrest is a due process violation. The court goes on to say the defendant's post-arrest silence cannot be used against him, violates due process. And that's exactly what happened on cross-examination. So I want to make clear the grounds for our objection. Also would like to move to strike the question, strike the answer, and get a curative jury instruction that they are not to consider any failure of the defendant to come forward with exculpatory information after his arrest relating to the murder charges. Thank you.
Mr. Waters.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Clearly, this defendant has given statements on multiple occasions, and that operates as a waiver under Doyle. Additionally, my question was not so limited, as Mr. Griffin says, and it was, in fact, the defendant who made a point of saying that he had repeatedly tried to talk and put that in issue, at which point this was directly responsive to what he brought up. Additionally, this was also, all that was discussed were public statements of his counsel, who is an agent on his behalf and attributable to him. So there's no Doyle violation here. If Mr. Murdaugh had claimed his right to silence from the beginning and had kept that throughout, then the state would be precluded from commenting on the exercise of his right to remain silent. But one thing we know about Mr. Murdaugh is he has not remained silent at any point during this process, and he's the one that brought up this false claim that he had been begging to tell the kennel story, when in fact he did not do so till yesterday.
Doyle primarily addresses the issue of post-arrest silence. If an accused is silent following an arrest, then it's improper to comment on the post-arrest silence. It does not allow an accused or a person who's suspected to give contradictory information or to voluntarily give a statement or to voluntarily give a misstatement, as has been acknowledged here. I do not find any Doyle violation, and the record is protected. I certainly understand the defense raising any and all possible issues, and they can be raised, and you've done it here. The record is protected, but all motions are denied. Let's bring the jury.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. This judge is biased as shit. Ah, Kenny Powers, bro. I see what you did. You wrote, no Doyle rules. It's not Doyle rules. Oh, Doyle rules. Oh, Doyle rules, right? From Happy Gilmore. That's funny.
Jury is present, sir.
Very good. You may proceed.
May it please the court, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Murdaugh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Give that mic up a little bit, please.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
There we go.
When we left off, we were talking about at what point during that interview in the car with Dave Owen that you decided to start lying about the murders of your wife and son. I'm going to pick up this video real quick. Not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to start from 2 minutes and 9 seconds.
So, just start it out, take your time.
Like when I came back here, I mean, I pulled up and I could see him, and, you know, I knew something was bad. I ran out. I knew it was really bad. My boy over there, I could see it was. And I could see his brain on. And I ran over to Maggie, and actually, I think I tried to turn Paul over first. You know, I tried to turn him over, and I don't know, I figured it out. His cell phone popped out of his pocket. I started to try to do something with it, thinking maybe, but then I put it back down really quickly. Then I went to my wife, and I could see.
Did you touch Maggie at all?
I did. I touched them both.
Okay.
I tried to I tried to do it as limited as possible, but I tried to take their pulse on both of them. And, you know, I called 911 pretty much right away, and she was very good. I talked to her. I told her I was going to get off the phone to call some family members. I did that.
What family members did you call?
I called my brother Randy, and I called my brother John. And I tried to call a little boy, real good friend that's right around the corner from here, but I didn't get him.
What all was around Paul when you walked up?
Blood.
Anything else?
I mean, there was some body things, yes, sir.
I mean, like any other evidence? I know you said the phone fell out of the pocket, but did you see anything else that didn't belong or shouldn't belong or that wasn't part of Paul?
No, sir, not good. No, sir.
How about Maggie?
No, sir.
You didn't see anything around them? What made you come out here tonight?
I went to, my mom's a late stage Alzheimer's patient. My dad's in the hospital. My mom gets anxious when she does. I went to check on them and Maggie. Maggie's a dog lover. And she fools with the dogs. And I knew she'd gone to the kennel. I was at the house.
Just to be clear, you say you hadn't made the conscious decision to start lying about your wife and son's murder right there, correct?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, let's continue on.
Mr. Waters, I can't tell you exactly when that decision occurred.
Okay. You can't describe to the jury the moment you decided to lie about your wife and son's murder.
I can't tell you exactly when that moment occurred.
I left the house and went.
You did say earlier that when David Owen asked you about your relationships, that was a trigger point, correct?
Well, that was certainly one of the things that contributed or made me paranoid.
Okay.
Now, you know, there were already things that had gone on that occurred, as I said, that put me in that mindset.
Yeah.
But exactly when I decided to lie about that, I can't tell you.
So the things again you talked about, your dope paranoia, the fact they'd taken GSR, And you talked about the advice of your law partners and Sheriff Hill and Greg Alexander, and then you talked about your distrust of SLED somehow from the circumstances and demeanor of this interview right here, correct?
No, my distrust from SLED didn't arise from this interview. My distrust for SLED arose from a couple of things, and it's really several things. It arose from the way they had been involved in, SLED had been involved in the investigation into Paul's criminal charges, and they had been involved in, there was an issue that had gone on with some rumors about Buster and Paul. They had been involved in that, where, Buster nor Paul had anything to do with what I'm talking about, and SLED never said that, even though they told their lawyer that, they never say that. And there had been another incident where SLED had charged Greg Alexander, my friend in this case. They charged him, and in fact, I thought the agent that was involved in that was David Owen, but the charges against Greg Alexander were so, they were so wrong that my dad and I made a conscious decision, even though he was a career prosecutor, made a decision to go to the courthouse and sit with Greg Alexander while his trial went on, because
This was like 10 years ago, right?
it was a while back, But
You don't know if Dave Owen was at SLED 10 years ago.
No, I checked on that, because that night, the officer who was involved in that case in bringing clearly manufactured charges against Greg Alexander.
So you're saying the night before you sat down for this interview, you were asking somebody about whether or not something about Greg Alexander 10 years ago in the wake of what had occurred?
Oh, no, I didn't ask anybody.
Okay, so that wasn't what you were discussing when you were sitting in this car?
No, I wasn't discussing that. I'm just telling you that I thought David Owen was the same agent that was involved in that case. Now, I learned later, because I checked on it, I learned later that it was a different David, SLED agent, first name David with a different last name. I learned that later. I'm just saying that was all part of that process going on in my mind.
So you're saying that you're sitting here right now thinking that this Dave Owen and this circumstances and demeanor of this interview, you're thinking that guy had been involved in the prosecution or investigation of your friend 10 years ago?
I did.
Okay, so here's a new one you just mentioned to us, correct?
No, that's not a new one.
Okay.
That's part of.
I mean, the circumstances are new. I mean,
No,
that's fairly
no.
specific, don't you think?
Well, no, sir.
I mean, the story keeps evolving. Keep going.
No, you asked me about this, Mr. Owen. What I said is part of this whole, Mr. Waters, part of this whole process involved my distrust for SLED. That was a big part of my distrust for SLED.
Yeah, we can all see it on your face in this interview, can't we?
I don't know.
But you said what you just said a little bit ago, that wasn't the lie, that wasn't the conscious decision yet, so let's keep going.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't believe that it was. I don't
Okay.
know exactly when I made the decision to lie about that.
All right.
All right?
Well, if you see it, let me know, okay? I want to go forward.
To my mom's for just a little while. Tried to call her when I left. Texted her, no response. When I got back to the house was obviously nobody was in there, so I figured they're still up here fooling around. Paul was gonna be getting set up to plant. Our sunflower seeds got sprayed and died, and he was refiguring to plant the sunflower seeds. So I came back up here and I drove up and saw and called.
Had Maggie and Paul been arguing over anything?
No.
What was their relationship like?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. How about yours and Maggie's?
Wonderful. I mean, I'm sure we had little things here and there, but we had a wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship.
And yours and Paul's relationship?
as good as it could be.
How old was Paul?
22.
Okay.
So that was the moment, right there, that line of questioning, just asking some very general questions about your relationship. You mentioned that before, didn't you, Mr. Murdaugh? Is that the moment right there? Is that the look on your face when you decide to lie about an important fact in your wife and son's murder?
I don't know, as I said, Mr. Waters, I don't know the exact point that I made that decision.
You specifically earlier mentioned that very exchange as somehow triggering you to lie about the last time you saw them alive.
No, I'm not saying that that's what made me lie. I'm saying this whole set of circumstances caused me to be in a state where I had paranoid thoughts.
Okay.
That normally, Mr. Waters, I could take a deep breath and make go away in a second or 2 seconds or 3 seconds at the most. And on this night, I wasn't able to do that. But all of those things that I mentioned, I believe contributed to that.
Okay. Any more you want to add now, since you keep adding them?
I'd be glad to answer any question you have.
Well, I mean, I'm asking you. I mean, the factors have gone from yesterday to today, and now even after lunch, we got some new ones. So anything else you want to add right now as to factors?
Mr. Waters, I don't believe that I've added any new factors. I believe that's what I said yesterday.
All right.
I've explained some of those factors because of your questions, but I don't believe I've added any factors.
Okay. All right, let me move this forward just a little bit.
Okay, so most of this was stuff from between a couple of them, but not.
Yesterday in great detail about the boat case, which you brought up on the 911 call and to Daniel Green, and then, of course, in this first interview, correct?
I did mention the boat wreck.
All right, and you described that. Do you remember what you said in this interview about the boat wreck?
Not
About
specifically.
specifically the other people involved in the boat wreck? You don't remember specifically? Do you remember specifically? I guess you said no.
I remember talking about the boat wreck, and I
Don't
know
know
that I talked about the boat wreck.
All right. Well, I'm going to play now from 1714.
any direct threats between any of the people on the boat
Okay.
specifically, but I do think there's been a small amount of yap between a couple of them, but not recently.
Okay.
What was the term you used for that? A small amount of yip-yap?
Yeah, and just to be clear, Mr. Waters, there was never, ever a point in time where I thought that the people that were involved in the boat wreck did this to Paw and Maggie.
Okay.
I've never thought that.
All right. I never thought that, but it's literally one of the first things that you said out of the 911 call.
Nah, that's not what I said. I never, ever, ever, under any point in time, believed that those kids that were riding in that boat, or their parents, or their
parents.
or their families. I didn't believe that any of the families, the people that were involved in the boat wreck, had anything to do with hurting Maggie and Paul.
Okay.
But I can tell you that at that time, and as I sit here today, that I believe that boat wreck is the reason why Paw and Maggie were killed.
Okay.
And I'm certain, I believe that.
It was random vigilantes, the 5-2 vigilantes, huh?
Now, what I believe, Mr. Waters, is I believe that when Paul was charged criminally, there were so many leaks, half-truths, half-reports, half-statements, partial information, misrepresentations of Paul that ended up in the media all the time. And when I tell you the social media response that came from that was vile, the things that were said about what they would do to Papa, they were so over the top that nobody would believe anybody would get on social media and do that. But I believe then and I believe today that the wrong person saw and read that.
Okay.
Because I can tell you for a fact that the person or people who did what I saw on June the 7th, they hated Paul Murdaugh and they had anger in their heart. And that is the only reason that somebody could be mad at Paul like that and hate him like that.
Gotcha. All right, so we've got now.
But that's why I did then believe it was the boat wreck, and I believe now that the boat wreck had something to do with it.
All right, so we've got random vigilantes because of the boat wreck.
Now, I don't know that they're random vigilantes.
Well, you just said it wasn't the family or the kid, or
No.
the kids or the family of the other kids in the boat, right?
But
So
what-
you're saying it's somebody off of social media, and you don't have any evidence of that, do you?
Not
You
to-
just believe that, and you're just telling that jury that as you try to explain the lie that you told for the first time yesterday. Isn't that right?
No, sir, that's not right.
It's not right. All right, well, let me ask you a question then. So what you're telling this jury is that it's a random vigilante,
That's your
the
term.
12-year-old 5'2" people that just happened to know that Paul and Maggie were both at Moselle on June 7th, that knew that they would be at the kennels alone on June the 7th, that knew that you would not be there, but only between the times of 8:49 and 9:02, that they show up without a weapon, assuming that they're going to find weapons and ammunition there, that they commit this crime during that short time window, and then they travel the same exact route that you do around the same time to Alameda. That's what you're trying to tell this jury?
You got a lot of factors in there, Mr. Waters, all of which I do not agree with, but some of which I do.
All of which I do not agree with, but some of which I do. If I was him and I really wanted to portray that I didn't do this, I would turn to them and say, "Where is the gun? Where is the gun?" And then I'd throw some salt on that bitch. You know what I'm saying?
You testified earlier that after this happened, well, let me back up just real quick. When you were driving to and from Alameda, why were you in such a hurry? Why are you rolling 70, 80 miles an hour down that dark, beat-up road?
I wasn't in such a hurry.
You weren't?
No, sir.
All right. Show you what's been marked as States 573. See if you recognize this.
I do.
And tell the jury what that is.
If I sell 2 of these
in front of it.
coffee bug out bags, the angry turnip is coming back today,
What's between
boys.
the house and the Mercedes.
The golf cart?
Is that where it was on June the 8th, your recollection?
No, sir.
Where was it left?
I mean, it was near there, but that's not exactly where it was, no, sir.
Okay, where was it?
Where we would normally park it would be a little bit closer to the sheds. I mean, a little bit closer to the house, to the bushes.
Your Honor, this,
When was that photograph taken?
well, do you recognize when it was taken?
No, I don't recognize. No,
You
sir.
wouldn't dispute that it was around the time in the aftermath of the murders, would you?
Aftermath being when?
I'm asking you.
A day, a week, an hour?
I wasn't there, Mr. Murdaugh. Do you recognize those?
I recognize the car, I recognize the house, and I recognize the golf cart. But that is not, that's not exactly how it would have been
All right.
that night.
Can you describe to me then where it would be different?
Well, it would be more in line with, first things first is when we drove the golf cart, or when I drove it for sure, and I believe when the others drove it, you would come in and you would go across the little brick walkway that's in front of this. So if I would have come in and gone this way, or I would have come in and gone this way, this is not a place that any of my family would have normally parked it. And so what I'm assuming is this obviously is taken at daytime. And what I'm assuming is it was taken when SLED came to the earliest it was taken was when SLED came to the house the next day, which I believe the testimony is in the afternoon. And at this point in time, that golf cart, I would assume, would have been moved several times, but that's not how it
Well,
was.
where did you leave the golf cart when you got out of it around 8:49?
In the manner in which I just talked about.
Okay. Well, help me out again so I understand. You would have come around this way or that way, but where was it? Where would it end up?
It would have been, in this picture, it's facing to the right.
Oh, I got you.
The night that I drove it, I believe I parked it facing to the left.
I understand.
Would be customarily how I did it. And I believe I did it that way that night.
Okay. Well, that's all right.
And that is how I would have gotten into it.
All right. That's a very specific memory. Thank you. All right. At this
Well,
time,
that's
the
just how it
state would
normally
offer States 573 in evidence.
Admit it without objection.
Could I have the Omo very briefly?
And see, Mr. Waters, you can see in the picture now that you bring this up on the screen, if you look to the right, you can see the actual steps. And just to the left of that would be where the little brick patio starts. So where I would normally park it, you would roll across those bricks and the end of the golf cart would be just past those. And we all normally parked it that way because the way you charge this golf cart is if you see that back seat that's sitting, you can see the edge. This is a 3-seat golf cart, and you can see the back seat. And a lot of golf carts have the charger, this sits on the floor or something. This golf cart has a charger that's plugged in and a part of the golf cart. So you flip that seat up, and it plugs in. And the outlets are right up there by the door.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about that?
I'm going to answer any questions you have, Mr. Waters.
Well, I appreciate all that information in great detail.
Judge, you did a comment.
Sustained.
All right.
It's just never parked that way by the family.
Now the computer back, please. Mr. Murdaugh, I'm going to put up the second interview. This would have been June the 10th. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I do want to go through a couple of things with you, okay?
Anything you want to go through, Mr. Waters?
I apologize, got ahead of myself. I want to do one last thing on the first one. For the record, I'm gonna start it.
I forget the guy's name.
I'm gonna start it at 23:55. This is the first interview.
Meg's been having trouble with her. She's been having trouble with her stomach and her tooth. I'm not positive. It was sort of a routine visit, and I can't remember. She told me the name of him, and I can't. I want to say Gordine
Okay.
is who I think she saw.
So was she back home around supper time? Or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
I don't think she got back quite that early. I think she got back a little bit later than that.
Okay. And what did you do? Were you in the office or?
No, I was home. I came home. Paul and I messed around. I was up at the house. I laid down, took a nap on the couch, probably, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. I got up, I called Maggie, didn't get an answer, and I left to go to my mom's. She had said she might ride with me, but she normally doesn't when I go over there. And I think I texted her.
There, when you repeated the lie, that you decided?
Was that the moment that I
Was that the
decided
moment you
that?
decided to lie to mean old Dave Owen?
I don't know, as I told you, Mr. Waters, the exact moment that I decided to lie, but at that point in time,
But you did lie
obviously,
there, correct?
I did.
And she's very good about answering the phone, so that was odd, or calling me back. So that was odd, but it wasn't that big a deal.
All right, I'm gonna go to the second interview. It's been previously admitted. Let me ask you this before we start. You stated earlier during your direct testimony that after these crimes happened, you were around family, family was around you, your law partners were around you pretty much every minute after that, correct? Every waking minute. Didn't you say that yesterday?
Yes, they were for a long time.
All right. And this second interview was 3 days later, is that right?
That's correct.
And in no time with any of your close friends and law partners and family, do you confess the truth? Do you?
No, I did not.
Do you say, hey man, I think I messed up. What should I do about this?
No, I didn't.
You're not telling that lie to anyone, are you? Until yesterday.
Excuse me?
You're not telling that lie to anyone until yesterday, are you?
Not telling what lie? Saying I tried to tell somebody that I was lying?
All right.
Hang up.
So is it? And
All right, I'm going to move this to approximately 24:56.
went to go to the wreck thing getting
Correction, I'm at 1228.
him, he doesn't like to go to doctors, making him go get his blood pressure checked. His feet have swollen up recently.
Wow.
So, that was a big, huge deal.
Okay.
We hung around the house for a little while. I know that Maggie went to the kennels. I don't know exactly where Paul went, but he left the house too.
Okay. How did Maggie get down to the kennels?
I don't know exactly. But on normal occasions, she would drive a buggy, drive a four-wheeler, or very common for her to walk.
Okay. How about Paul?
Paul wasn't much of a walker, but he would use all of the others.
Okay.
But it could be anyway, I don't know exactly. I wish I could help you with that.
So they left and went down to the kennels.
Well, Maggie went to go to the kennels.
Okay. Paul left.
And I'm assuming, Paul left
Okay.
because of,
Gotcha.
what happened. I'm assuming Paul
Yeah.
went to the kennels.
Okay. And what did you do once Maggie and Paul left?
I stayed in the house.
Okay.
And I was watching TV, looking at my phone, and I actually fell asleep on the couch.
Okay. And what time did you?
I don't know
wake up?
exactly what time I woke up, but when y'all get my phone, I think one of the first things I did when I got up was call Maggie because I was going to my mom's. And I know I texted her because I checked my phone. And what time did we say the text was, Jim? Like 9:06?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I got it written down for the other
I showed you the other night, didn't I?
Yes, sir. I got this.
So, I texted her, so I called her just before that. And, she didn't answer at that point. And I left to go to my mom's.
Okay.
Y'all will just have to look. I'm not sure if I called Paul.
Well,
or not.
and that's why we're getting the phone so we can nail down the times and
Right.
and everything.
Pretty much all of that was lies, wasn't it?
The part about me not being at the kennel was a lie.
Well, also not knowing that Paul went down there, not being sure, that was a lie too, wasn't it? You're putting some detail on this thing, aren't you?
Not knowing when Paul left. Everything about me not going to the kennel was a lie.
And you're able to just do that
Max-
just so easily and so convincingly and so naturally, don't you?
That's not for me to judge.
That's true.
It's an odd story.
I'm gonna get to where I'm going.
Feel right now.
So do y'all have any good clues?
So we're trying to put a rush on that to get an answer quick, and hoping that's going to tell us something.
By evidence, is it things you think are going to be helpful?
Well, the shot shells out there, the casings, the DNA swabs that we took from the door handle to see if anybody touched the door handles, any other places that we think somebody may have touched while they were out there. We're trying to collect DNA from that and analyze that. Which at the conclusion of this, what I'm going to also ask is that we get a buccal swab, the DNA swab from you.
No problem.
Your DNA is going to be there, but we need to eliminate it once it's developed.
We don't need
stuff.
that unknown
Yeah.
when it actually is a family member.
There's no problem.
We have talked to close to 100 people trying to track people down, and we're still tracking people down. And that's why, who Paul was with.
I want to tell you one thing while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Paul was really an incredibly intuitive little dude. And, I mean, he was like a little detective. And
He was like a little detective, is that what you said?
That is what I said. And he was very intuitive, like I said.
And that was what Marion described as Maggie's term for how he was and keeping tabs on your pill usage. Wasn't that correct?
That was what Maggie said about him.
For some reason, you decided to bring that up in this interview, didn't you?
I mean, that was a trait of Paul's personality. I mean, I think anybody who knew him would tell you how intuitive he was.
Got it. You shouldn't. I went through hours of videos that we.
All right, for the record, I'm at 4630.
Going on collected.
well, thank y'all.
Yeah.
Very much.
So.
Mr. Allen.
You don't have to call me miss. You just call
I'm
me
sorry.
Alec. Thank you for that courtesy.
When you and Paul got back in the house, Miss Maggie's there, and y'all eat supper, which has been prepared, and you said you laid down and took a little nap, and when you got up, Maggie and Paul was gone, or did they leave when you laid down?
I believe that I'm not sure.
But they weren't there when you woke up around the 9 o'clock mark or so when you made the call to Maggie to let her know you were going to.
No, nobody was in that house when I left.
So, and just trying to narrow down, the last time that you saw Paul and Maggie is when y'all were eating supper.
Yes, sir.
Something.
Your answer was yes, sir. Is that correct?
That's correct.
About to go to the August 2021 interview, but between that June 10th interview and the August interview, you were not working very much, is that correct? If at all?
No, I definitely wasn't working very much. I think I was working a little bit, but no, not very much at all.
Did you go to Johnny Parker to borrow $250,000 in order to cover the Ferris fees?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Did you tell him what that was for?
No, I did not tell him what that was for.
Did you go to Russell Lafitte at Palmetto State Bank and get $350,000 in order to help cover some of the Ferris fees that you had taken to send to Chris Wilson.
I did.
And did you get those fees before you signed any paperwork or documentation?
I've heard testimony about that in this case, but I can't tell you the specifics of that.
Okay. You don't recall that?
Do I recall when I signed paperwork? No, sir.
You don't recall that you got the money a month before you had to sign any paperwork?
No, sir, I don't recall that.
Call your phone being in the console, but you
I'm
don't
not
recall
disputing that, but I don't recall it.
Did you go to your best friend Chris Wilson and convince him to cover $192,000, the remaining $192,000, in order for him to send that email to your law firm as if those fees had been there all along?
I spoke to Chris Wilson and did not have the full amount of the fees, and I got Chris Wilson to put the remaining fees in his trust account.
And when you did that, you didn't tell him the truth about your life. You just asked him to cover you,
No, I
correct?
didn't. I did not tell him.
And he agreed to do that because of his belief of who you really were, or who he thought you were.
He agreed to do that for whatever reasons. I assume that was a big part of it.
And once that $600,000 was transferred, Chris Wilson sent an email to you saying those fees had been there, were in his trust account, correct?
That is correct.
And then you forwarded that email to Lee Cope and Jeannie Seconder, correct?
I know I forwarded it to Jeannie, and I've heard that testimony about forwarding it to Lee Cope, so I believe that's correct.
Not get it all from PSB.
Because at that time, there were limitations on how much I could borrow because Mags was passed. And so I was limited. I couldn't get a loan against Moselle and had to get a loan against Palmetto State. Against Edisto.
Going to the third interview. All right, I'm going to go to 1745. Apparently having some technical difficulties. Jury's seen this, so, again, you repeated the same lies over and over again,
I did.
effortlessly.
I don't know about that.
Well, they can see it there.
I agree with that.
Nobody yelled at you.
Nobody yelled at me. Nobody, none of these guys were ever discourteous to me. Like,
Nobody what?
I said, none of those guys were ever discourteous to me. And you made a comment earlier that David Owens was mean or something about being mean, and he was never mean to me.
All right. But you decided to lie in part because you distrusted David Owen.
I distrusted SLED in general, and I particularly distrusted who I thought was David Owen at the time,
Okay.
who turned out not to be David Owen.
So wait a minute, I want to be clear. You're saying now you thought that this was some David Owen that had something to do with Greg Alexander 10 years ago.
No, sir. And I'm not saying that now. I've said that all along. The person that I saw and watched in Greg Alexander's trial that was clear to me was just, it was terrible what they did to Greg Alexander. And the person at SLED who was responsible for that was a guy named David. All right, and I'm not even getting into his last name. I thought that David Owens that night was that guy. Later, down the road, and it was a while, I checked into that and I found out that I was mistaken, that it was not David Owen.
So when we went back and we spent a lot of time going through that first statement, you're telling me now that you were sitting there thinking that this was a completely different guy the whole time, and that was on your mind during that entire interview.
Yes, at the time,
Okay. All right.
I thought that David Owen, no, I didn't think David Owen was a different person. I thought that David Owens was the person that my dad and I had watched. Just, I mean, my dad and I truly thought evidence was
Yeah, you said that
manufactured,
part.
and I thought it was David Owen, and I was wrong about that. But that's what I thought that night.
Any other factors or details you want to add about your decision?
I want to answer any question you have,
No,
Mr.
no, I mean,
Waters.
let's, any more?
Do you have any more questions, sir?
No, I mean, any more about your decision to lie. I mean, I just want to, let's get it all out now. Okay,
If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them, sir.
all right, well, I do. Tell me about the replacement blackout. You initially told law enforcement that you weren't sure whether or not there was one, correct?
Oh, no, sir, you're absolutely wrong about that.
What did you say then?
Shortly after this, it became being told that Paul's gun had been stolen. And the one you heard talk about being stolen from the thing. And I'm not sure how I learned this, but I learned that somebody, I believe SLED had gone to John Bedingfield, who made those guns, and could only find paperwork for 2 blackouts, one of which they were saying was stolen in 17. And that's what they were telling me. And I was certain and told them that I was certain that there was a third one.
But initially, in June 8th and June 10th, or June 10th, you were saying that you thought that y'all had replaced it, and then you kind of wavered and then eventually said you did replace it, correct?
I don't believe that's correct. No,
You
sir.
don't believe that's correct?
No, I don't believe that's
Did you
correct.
say to law enforcement that you thought that the third gun, the replacement blackout, had gone missing in Christmas of 2020?
It did go missing in Christmas of 2020.
So you're telling them that one also had been missing 6 months prior, correct? Answer my question first, and then you can explain. Did you all tell law enforcement that that gun had been missing since Christmas time?
I told law enforcement that when we looked for it at Christmas time, we could not find it.
Okay.
And that was accurate. We looked for it when we were trying to shoot hogs, when we had a group of people out there, and we could not find it.
Okay. But you now know that it was there as late as turkey season.
I know, sir. I know that Will Love and Paw had it right before turkey season, like Will Love testified to.
So it was around, actually.
It was around there at some point in time there, yes, sir.
So you're saying it got stolen a second time, or you just don't know?
No, I'm not.
The 12-year-old stole it a second time?
I never said a 12-year-old stole any gun, Mr.
Sorry, the
Waters.
5'2" people stole it a second time?
I don't know that it was stolen. I just know that when we looked for it at Christmas time, we couldn't find it. And I know this, I know that I hadn't seen that gun in a long time. I've heard the testimony that people who were at my house using guns and hunting with us all the time, Rogan, Buster, they didn't, I can't remember about Buster, but there were several people who didn't even know that gun had been replaced. So that tells me that that gun did not stay where our regular guns were. And I know that I didn't see it there, and that tells me that they didn't see it there.
Of course you didn't see it there, because it's got to be missing, correct, Mr. Murdaugh?
Ask that
Yeah,
question
one more
again.
circumstance for your latest story to work is that it's got to be missing as well. It was when you told law enforcement it was missing at Christmas time. Now, we've had testimony at this trial, and now you're still claiming that you never saw it. It must have been kept somewhere else. Where else would it have been kept?
It could have been kept anywhere, Mr. Waters, the way Paul did guns, the way guns were handled around there. I was terrible about that.
You're terrible about that.
I should have been stricter.
But you know that that third gun was fired right outside the gunroom door in turkey season of 2021, correct?
I know that now, based on what Will Lovin said.
And you know it was also fired across the street at y'all's shooting house around that same time, don't you?
No, sir, I don't know that, but I know that I would assume that it was fired at the shooting range, but I don't have any reason to believe it was done in close proximity to that time.
A few months go by, a couple months go by, and you get confronted about your thefts from the law firm, correct?
September of 21.
And unlike June the 7th, when Jeannie confronted you, this time they had unassailable evidence, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, they had,
No wiggling out of this one, correct?
I didn't try to wiggle out of this one.
Well, you've been wiggling before, though, right? You wiggled when you stole your brother's money twice, correct?
I admit almost all of these things, Mr. Waters, but that's one of the things that I take dispute with,
Which one?
that I stole that money that you're referring to.
You're going to dispute that? Let's hear about that then. Tell me why you dispute cashing that check twice.
I don't dispute cashing that check twice.
But you're going to tell this jury that you accidentally didn't realize that you were supposed to be receiving some $125,000 check, or $120 however $1,000 check, 2 times.
What
How
I'm
many
telling you,
$120,000 checks do you receive?
I got that check, and this is several months after. I mean, you can look at my finances and you can see how I was doing. I didn't balance a checkbook, but the fact of the matter is, when I got that check, I asked about it, and I was told mistakenly that it was for me, that I had participated in that year-end thing, which I did sometimes, not often, but sometimes. Apparently, a new check got cashed. I cashed that check. Then a year later,
Yeah, where did you keep that one for a year?
I don't know where it was. It was obviously in my desk. But, Mr. Waters,
So you found it in your desk.
no, I didn't find it.
Well, you said it was obviously in your desk, so you remember that? You remember finding it in your desk?
No, I remember when we,
Did you go to finance and say, I just found this year-old check, is this right?
no,
No, you took it to the bank, didn't you?
no, sir, I didn't.
Not allowing Mr. Murdaugh to answer the question.
So when this came up, when this came up, that check got cashed. There's no way that I can have a check in our law firm with the way accounting is, and that I can cash a check twice and think that's impossible. So to cash a check that's already been checked, there's no question it's going to throw that off. What happened is we used to get a rent check, we get little checks, I'd have checks, and they'd pile up, the small checks. That check got mixed in and it got sent to the bank and it got deposited.
Keep going.
And that was a year after.
Okay.
But I do dispute that I stole that money. That money.
All right. Well, I mean, you brought it up, so any of the other money you dispute stealing?
No, sir, you brought it up. I was just telling you that that was the one I disputed.
All right. And you heard Ronnie Crosby and Mark Ball testify about that, correct?
I heard Ronnie and Mark testify about what they thought about it. Yes, sir.
All right. You testified yesterday about the side of the road,
Yeah, yes, sir.
and then you heard the testimony during the state's direct case about what you said on the 911 call? You heard that, didn't you?
I did hear that.
You heard the 911 call where you said you'd been attacked by an unknown assailant and described him?
I did.
And you saw the video from the ambulance where you said you'd been attacked by an unknown assailant and described him?
I did.
And you heard the testimony from Ryan Kelly where you, again, went into detail and described this attack from an unknown assailant?
I did.
And you heard the testimony about your interview on September 6th with law enforcement, in which you went into great detail and again described this unknown assailant?
I did.
And you heard the testimony, and in fact, the image was put in about how you sat down with a SLED sketch artist and spent a period of time with her going forward and creating an image of the supposed assailant.
I did sit down with I was in the hospital and they came in, sat down with me, asked me a bunch of questions. I answered their questions and
Yes, you did. You
it
sat
came
there,
it came up with a composite. Yes, sir.
sat there and answered their questions just as effortlessly and convincingly as you've been trying to do for the past 2 days. Isn't that correct?
No, sir, that's not true. In that hospital, I couldn't sit still. I was standing up. I was walking around. I was using the bathroom with the lady sitting right there. I was 2 days into not taking, 3 days into not taking pills like I had been. So, no, it wasn't effortlessly. But, I told him what I told him. I don't dispute that I lied.
It was all lies, though, is the point, correct?
It was.
I mean, you're saying withdrawals, but you still were able to pull off lies in great detail.
I lied to them.
And the lie that you told of an unknown assailant was to try to make people think that the, quote, real bad guys were back again to finish the job. Isn't that true?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's not the effect that you intended that story to have? Did it have that effect on people that you knew? Isn't that the exact effect that it had?
I don't think there's many people that believe that. No, sir. I know the people that were, the people that were closest to me didn't believe that. So, no,
When
sir.
accountability is at your door, Mr. Murdaugh, bad things happened. Isn't that true?
When accountability is
After
at my
your life-
doorstep,
Go ahead.
bad things happen. What do you mean by bad things?
June 7th happened. September 4th happened.
I don't believe that June the 7th happened because accountability issues were at my doorstep. Now, I do believe in September that I tried to get a man to help me kill myself because issues were at my doorstep.
Every time, or I'm sorry, for the first time in your life of privilege and prominence and wealth, when you were facing accountability, each time suddenly you became a victim and everyone ran to your aid. Isn't that true?
I disagree with that, but I mean, what you're
Shame for you is an
you're-
extraordinary provocation. Isn't that true, Mr. Murdaugh?
Hang on, let me just finish this. You seem to be implying 2 dates, June the 7th and September, and talking about accountability issues. And I mean, to me, those two things are totally different. There were no accountability issues on my doorstep on June the 7th.
That's what you say,
And in September,
not what other people say.
I was trying to, well, no, I mean, been a lot of people, well, in September, that wasn't designed to gain me sympathy. That was designed for me not to be here because I didn't want my son to have to deal with the wake of the things that I had done.
But that's not the story you told. The story that came out of your mouth right away was the story of you getting attacked by some unknown assailant while you were trying to change a tire and run flats.
Well,
That's the story that you told.
That is the story I told, but that's because the man who shot me did not shoot me that day as I intended. And I had to have a story as to how I got shot, so I lied.
So you lied. And you're saying that people in your family and your friends didn't instantly believe that whoever these 12-year-old marauders were back to finish the job.
You keep using
And
the
it
term
happened just
12-year-old
2 hours
marauders.
after you had been confronted by Chris Wilson.
I think probably some people may have thought that when it first happened, but I think like Randy, Ronnie, Mark, those guys, I think they knew very quickly that this was not, I think they knew this was something that I'd done.
Shame for you, I asked this before, but shame for you is an extraordinary provocation, isn't it, Mr. Murdaugh?
Shame for me is an extraordinary provocation. I don't like to be shamed.
The prospect of humiliating the legacy is an extraordinary provocation to you, isn't it, Mr. Murdaugh?
What do you mean by an extraordinary provocation?
It affects you deeply. It's your biggest concern, is it not?
No, that's not my biggest concern.
You're a middle-aged man like me.
I'm 54 years old. I'm not sure. You look like you're in better shape than me, so I don't know.
I was actually a couple of years behind you in law school, but we never knew each other, did we?
I never knew you, no, sir.
Had a very successful career up until this point.
You know,
Simple question.
and the answer to that is no, Mr. Waters. I was an addict for more than 20 years.
All right, so making millions of dollars over a decade is not having a successful career? Is that what you're going to tell the jury?
No, that's not a successful career. When you
Okay, well, let me put it
no,
like this.
hang on. Let me just.
All right,
you
go
put
ahead.
this- you know, it may have been what you perceive as a successful career, but, you know, I was the one who was fighting that. You don't have a very high self-esteem when you're an addict. So I don't deem myself a success.
Would you agree that at least outwardly you're perceived as successful?
I made a bunch of money, if that's what you're wanting to get at.
No, I'm actually asking about the perception. You were perceived as a prominent,
I tried to be.
powerful lawyer.
How I was perceived,
president
I
of
don't
the
know.
trial
I
lawyers.
sure tried to be.
Lived a life of possessing authority.
Possessing authority?
Yeah, we saw the badges. You just admitted of your prominence in the legal community.
I don't think that I lived a life of possessing authority. I never saw myself as that way.
You don't think you lived a life of privilege?
I think I was very privileged.
But as we move to June of 2021, you were suffering from a drug addiction.
Absolutely.
Your father was terminally ill.
When?
As we move to June of 2021,
No, sir.
he was very ill.
He was very ill.
And you were coming to a point of financial crisis.
I was having financial issues like I'd had many times in the past.
Mr. Murdaugh, are you a family annihilator?
A family annihilator? You mean like, did I shoot my wife and my son?
Yes.
No. Would never hurt Maggie Murdaugh. I would never hurt Paul Murdaugh under any circumstances.
Say that.
Excuse me?
You say that, but you lied to Maggie, didn't you?
I did lie to Maggie
You lied to Paul.
sometimes.
You lied to your father.
I'm sure I did at some point.
Did you tell him all the stuff you'd been up to over the years before he died?
No, I didn't tell him.
Did you lie to your brothers?
About financial things,
Yes.
I would have lied to Randy at some point, I'm sure.
Did you lie to him about the last time you saw your wife and son alive?
I did.
Did you lie to their wives?
I'm sure I did.
Did you lie to Marion Proctor?
Yes.
Did you lie to Bart Proctor?
Yes.
Did you lie to the Brandstetters?
Yes.
Did you lie to your best friend, Chris Wilson?
Probably.
Did you lie to your other friend, Barrett Bulware, when you took his money?
No, sir.
No.
I didn't lie like I told you. I didn't lie directly to him. I lied to him by omission, like we talked about. I mean, I didn't talk to him. I didn't see him at that time.
Did you lie to your law partners?
I did.
Did you lie to him about the kennels?
Some of them.
Did you lie to Mark Ball?
Yeah, I believe, based on what Mark said, I believe I did.
Did you lie to Ronnie Crosby?
According to what he said, I believe I did.
Did you lie to Johnny Parker?
I don't believe I ever discussed that with Johnny.
Did you lie to him about the finances when you borrowed that money in July of 2021?
I don't know if I lied to him about. I don't think Johnny asked me. I don't think I had to lie to Johnny about that, so I don't know.
Did Did you lie? Well, you certainly didn't disclose to him the truth when you borrowed that $250,000, did you?
I did not tell him what I was going to use it for.
I mean, didn't we say before that not telling the whole truth is the same as telling a lie?
Sure it is.
You don't think that's a lie, though?
I'm just saying, Mr. Waters, I'm not taking issue with that, but I don't even know that Johnny and I mean, Johnny had loaned me money numerous times. It wasn't any long sit-down discussion where Johnny wanted to know exactly what I was doing with it. That conversation would have been, I needed it. Johnny was always willing to help me, and that would have been the conversation. So on that specific event, did I lie to him? I don't know.
Yeah, he ended up being out $477,000, didn't he?
He ended up being out a lot of money.
And thank you for your qualifications as to that. Did you lie to Lee Cope?
I don't know. I don't know if Lee Cope was around when I said that or not.
Did you lie to Danny Henderson?
I did lie to Danny.
Did you lie to Jeannie Seckinger?
About finances, yes, I did.
You didn't ever talk to her about the kennels?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Did you lie to Annette Griswold?
I did.
Did you lie to Christy Gerald, your other secretary or paralegal?
I don't believe she and I discussed. I would have at some point, I'm sure.
Did you lie to Michael Gunn?
I'm sure I did at some point, but I mean, Michael wasn't involved in any of this, so I don't know that any of this ever came up with Michael.
Did you lie to your clients? Did you lie to Pamela Pinckney?
I did.
Natasha Thomas?
I don't know that I dealt with Natasha, but I certainly lied about that.
Hakeem Pinckney?
Again, I don't know that I talked to Hakeem, but I certainly lied about that.
Arthur Badger?
I did.
The Plyler girls?
I'm not sure that I talked specifically to them, but I lied about that.
Dion Martin?
I lied to Dion.
Johnny Bush?
Yes.
Manuel Cristiani?
I didn't have any conversations with him, but I certainly lied about it.
Jamie Risher?
Yes.
Randy Drawdy?
Yes.
Jordan Jinks?
Yes.
Mary Duncan?
Yes.
Adriana Hay?
Yes.
Angel Gary?
Yes.
Christopher Anderson?
Yes.
Elise Mallory?
Yes.
Thomas Moore?
No.
You never lied to him? You just took his money. You never had to actually lie to his face, is what you're saying?
He and I never had a conversation, but I did take that. I did take that money.
Did you lie to Tony Satterfield just a couple of months before June 7th? We saw the text. You want me to get it out?
Just remind me. There's been a lot. Just remind me what it was.
I'll show you what's been marked as 463.
And I don't remember the exact date, so.
That was in April of 2021. Is that right? Where you text him and tell him how hard you're working on the case when in fact you had stolen millions of dollars from him? Tony Satterfield, who got up on the stand and told the jury about that?
I texted him on April 12th, so 5 weeks before June 7th.
Told him everything was okay, you're working hard, right? It's a complex case.
Yeah, I told him I was working on the case.
He was the son of your longtime housekeeper, Gloria.
I'm sorry?
He was the son of your longtime housekeeper, Gloria, who had served your family for many years.
That's correct.
And you stole millions from those boys.
I stole those funds.
And he and his family had started asking questions as we moved to June 7th. Didn't that happen?
No, I mean, there wasn't any rise in them asking questions, no, sir. I mean, he periodically checked in and asked me questions, but, you know, it had come out long before this, I believe in the Island packet, that there had been a settlement of $500,000. But, I mean, that had been months and months, if I'm not mistaken. And so I didn't notice any uptick in Tony asking questions, and I don't believe that there was any uptick in Tony asking questions before June the 7th.
So you just gratuitously out of the blue decided to lie to him and send that text? Or were there things going on externally that caused you to need to head him off at the pass before further questions started to be asked about money you couldn't pay back at that point in time?
Nah, I don't think there was anything. I mean, on April 21st, I don't know what external factors you're talking about.
You want to explain that one anymore?
Explain what?
Whatever you want.
I just want to answer your questions, Mr. Waters.
Lied to everyone about the side of the road, the people that came to stop to help, and the ambulance folks, and the 911, and Ryan Kelly, and the composite sketch artist, and all of them, correct?
I lied to a lot of people about that.
You know why people lie, Mr. Murdaugh? Because they know they've done something wrong.
For the most time, I do.
And you've been able to lie quickly and easily and convincingly if you think it'll save your skin for well over a decade. Isn't that true?
I have lied well over a decade.
And you want this jury to believe a story manufactured to fit the evidence that you brought forth just yesterday, after hearing this trial's worth of testimony.
No, sir, that's not correct.
Mr. Murdaugh, we went through this for a while, but you remember at the beginning of your testimony, I asked you whether or not you agreed that trying to explain your presence on the kennel video was the most important part of your testimony before this jury. You remember that? And you said, oh, not the most important. And I said, was it at least important? You recall that from yesterday?
Yeah, I recall you asking those questions, yes, sir.
And you agree it's important, don't you?
I agree that is an important component. But I think there's a lot of important components.
And you testified yesterday and during cross yesterday and cross today. It's kind of evolved on the fact of the factors that led you to decide to lie at some point during that interview with David Owen, correct?
I disagree with that. I don't think those factors have evolved. I mean, you've asked some more specific questions, but those factors are still the same factors. You may have asked questions and gained a little more detail, but those factors haven't changed.
But it was the dope paranoia. It was the fact that the deputy took your GSR. It was the fact that your law partners and Greg Alexander and the sheriff were telling you you needed to have a lawyer before you talked to police. It was the factor that you got in the car with Dave Owen and thought he was somebody else from some case 10 years ago, correct?
That believing David Owens was the person involved in the case that I talked about was one of the factors that caused me to distrust SLED.
All right. And then also you said that they started
general.
asking you about, in that first interview, about your relationship with Maggie and Paula. And that's one thing you mentioned as well, correct?
And that was certainly something that contributed to me having paranoid thinking.
I was just wondering something kind of out of the blue. I'm like, do you think that the prosecutor is taking so long deliberately in hopes that the other witnesses, the specialty witnesses that were mentioned yesterday, will not be able to testify? Or that it's going to cost the prosecution, which again is taxpayer, I'm assuming, or maybe he's got a paid, or the defense team, maybe he's got paid defense lawyers, that they're going to have to spend extra money. I don't know. Something to think about. You know what else is something to think about? We still need to sell 7 more of these bad boys for me to make my goal today. We're doing very well with our flash sale. All of our coffee, all of our t-shirts, and all of our hoodies are 20% off until 5 p.m. today. But I would like to see a couple of you guys buy the coffee bug out bag. Anyway, they're still trying to figure it out. There's been no audio. The audio is still on. But yeah.
Playing the Daniel Green body cam video, 2026.
They are dead on that.
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
Where are you now? All right. Yeah, the police are here now. The police are here now. That's my brother.
Okay. When was the last time you were here with them? Or talked to them or anything like that?
It was earlier tonight. I don't know the exact time, but
Okay.
I left. I was probably gone an hour and a half from my mom's, and I saw them about 45 minutes before that.
That was Sergeant Green, correct?
Yeah, that was Sergeant Green.
And at that point in time, SLED was not there. No one had gotten GSR from you. Your law partners or Sheriff Hill were not there.
That's correct.
No one had asked you about your relationships. David Owen was not there,
That's correct.
but you still told the same lie. And all those reasons that you just gave this jury about the most important part of your testimony was a lie too. Isn't that true, Mr. Murdaugh?
I disagree with that.
Nothing further.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break now. Please do not discuss the case. You may step down. Please do not discuss the case. We'll take 15 minutes.
All rise.
That may have, I don't know. I'm right. For one, I think the judge is biased. I just have that feeling that he's biased. That's my opinion. I can't prove it, but I think he is. Someone said the prosecutor did a terrible job. Yeah, I mean, they're doing a terrible job at proving murder. That's why I'm very confused as to how this all works. As to, like, what they're trying to do or trying to get. I don't know. It's all weird. How are you guys doing today, though? Someone said check my email. Julie, is that it? Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Da-da-do. Yeah, your t-shirts probably are shipping separately. Hold on, I'll tell you in a second. La-dee-dee, la-da-da. Where did you place this order? This isn't the right order. Do 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 do. La da dee, la da da. The shirts always ship separately, but I don't know what your delay is. So let me log into my shirt printer. So when you order the Patriotic as F bundle, we ship the bundles separately from the t-shirts. They're processed at the same time. We just try to get the bundles out quicker now. It actually gets the whole thing out quicker to you. Oh, wait. I did the wrong one. They're still printing your shirts, Julie. I think you were the one that asked or told me to check my email. They're still printing your shirts. You should get them soon. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. They're still printing them. You should get them soon. Sometimes it takes them a little bit longer. Christine said, Steve, I got your email, and next month I am buying coffee and shirts. All right. Well, the deal's for right now. I sent everyone an email. Hell yeah. Patrick said, saving up for the buyout pack on disability, but want to get it. Nice. Yeah, remember with the bug out packs too, this thing, which is badass, you can also use Shop Pay and break up your payments. And if you're a veteran, this is what you do. When you're checking out, you'll see it. Once it's in your cart, you'll see a GovX extension. If you're a veteran, first responder, nurse, teacher, cop, anything like that, do the Govern registration. So GovX registration. So basically, you log in there, you provide them your DD-214 or whatever the hell they do to verify your prior service, and then you get an automatic 15% off discount. That's good all the time in the store. So you could do that and combine it with Shop Pay and all that stuff too. So just saying. I'm just saying. And that really works. A couple of people have done that already, and it saves you quite a bit on the on everything. You could do that on the ammo cans. You could do that on shirts. You could do that on everything. So, people are asking how to change names. Yeah, I don't know how you change your name. Yeah, they're trying to character assassination. That is true. That is the truth with an F. Man, dude. Someone said, can you pay with Venmo? Are you talking about on our store? I think you actually can. I think Venmo is one of the checkout options, isn't it? I think I authorized Venmo. Oh, maybe not. I thought Venmo was one of the options, but no. But here's that thing I was talking about right here, the GovX. If you're a first responder, government employee, teacher, military, or spouse of military, or dependents of military, you can log right in through there and get it. It's pretty amazing. They're on my roof. I don't know what they're doing. I hear them walking around on my roof. I'll be honest, they made a huge mess in the backyard, and they ruined my, I have a mat out at the back door of this place, because I normally come in the back door, and they have, concrete all over it, because they're redoing all the things. What is the stuff between the bricks? You know what I mean? They're redoing all that, and they ruined my mat. But it's okay, because I was going to replace the rear lock with one of those keypad locks. So it just looks like I'm going to do it sooner. But Mortar, there you go. Christine said you hate giving your card payment. Just use PayPal then. That's an easy way. Or Shop Pay. That's a little bit more separate. What if your former LEO? Yeah, I think so, Angel. As long as you could verify it. So you just verify with GovX. Try, Angel. That's what I would say. Did he get in trouble for all of his thefts? It does seem that he's got pending charges for all the theft stuff, which if I was on the jury, that would lead me to believe he is innocent in the murder because, he's going to go to jail probably for the rest of his life for the massive amount of thefts and all that stuff. Patricia Pelletier Evans said maybe you'll get a new house out of this. Out of what? What are you talking about? Are you talking to me or somebody else? I don't know. If you're talking about me, yeah, right. What this is this. I'll be honest. The reason why I'm trying to set the goals to do this, because if I sell all of the bundles that I have planned to do, I could buy a piece of equipment that allows me to completely switch our coffee bags to cans. So that's really what I want to do without having to raise the price of the coffee. So that's what I'm trying to do, because we'll reinvest all of the profit from these ammo can or from all of these coffee bug out bags. We'll repurpose all of that profit to buy this mega seamer is what they're called. It's not a mega seamer, but it's a seamer used for the cans, and it allows long story, but it works. And I would love to get something that would automatically weigh out the coffee, because right now I do it manually. So essentially I sit there on a scale. No joke. That's why it takes me so long to pack coffee. But get your coffee now. It's awesome. Hell yeah, it's awesome, yeah. I just watched a video on TikTok, because yes, I use TikTok. I don't care. And it was this girl that apparently does Twitch streaming, but she sings when she's playing Call of Duty. Oh my God, she had the most amazing voice. She sings very soft songs, not music I listen to. Her voice was very good though. I don't know what her name is, but she's apparently a big-time Twitch streamer. But, yeah, so they're on break. They're going to be back in approximately probably 5 minutes from now. I'm trying to remember if I have the remote login on this computer, because I'm kind of tempted to go home. I'm not doing a live stream tonight because I've been live streaming all day. This one has been 2 hours. The one before was 4 or 5 hours. So I've been live streaming all day since 9:30 this morning. So I'm going to go home and hang out with my fam. And then tomorrow I got to be up early anyway. And so we'll do a special night crew show tomorrow. Podcast, maybe watch some videos, bloopers, funny, viral videos, whatever. Just kind of hang out, chill out. But that'll be a later show, probably start around 8 p.m. because I have to open the store tomorrow anyway. And I have to pack all these coffee orders and get them all ready, all the Wake Up America orders, all that good stuff. Oh, the folks working on your building, are they white workers? Bouge would ask. No, they're not white workers. What does it matter if they're white or not? What does that have anything... Are you talking about, Buttigieg? I see what you're saying. No, but they're actually really, really good. I think they're Spanish, but they're American, But they are very, very skilled. They're the ones who did the whole kitchen for me, like built the kitchen in here. They did a really good job. Too meticulous. It cost me too much money, but they're very good. Very good. Kind of got a headache again. I got to blow my nose too. So I'm trying not to like wipe my nose or really anything because I could feel it's all up there. But I'll end up sneezing pretty soon, which sucks. How's the store going? Pretty good, man. Pretty good. It's slow because my signage isn't that great, but people know it's free. I just wish I had more. So like part of me was like for example, if you guys if I sold maybe 50 of the Patriotic As F ammo can bundles and all of these the coffee bag bundles, I'd be able to do everything I wanted because I also want to get I don't know if you guys know. I don't want to spill all my secrets, but I want to get what's called a super automatic coffee maker. So basically what it is they're super expensive, like $18,000. But what it is basically you press a button. It'll make a cappuccino, it'll make a mocha, it'll make a latte, it'll make an espresso, all with the push of the button. And you could do, it's a 2-station one, the one I want. So you could do 2 separate drinks all at once. Because then what we'll end up doing is we'll open up our drink offering and then do $2 espressos, mochas, blah, blah, blah. But just keep it a really, really flat, low rate, $2 cold brews, all that stuff. Because again, advertising on the cup supplement all the extra cost. But those things are just so darn expensive. I almost got like the kind you would see in a fancy hotel. I almost bought one of those and financed it, but I was like, I don't want to do that. So I just want to get the right one, and then eventually we'll build that model out and then we'll start opening satellite locations that aren't as for example, I'm probably the next location we'll open will be in Wilmington, North Carolina. So I'm actually looking for real estate down there now to open another location. That'll be a Pure Truth coffee location. And then we're going to do like Pure Truth or just Gratis Cafe, which is still Pure Truth coffee, but Gratis Cafe locations where we don't have any of the patriotic stuff. It's strictly a hole in the wall where you come and you get, either free coffee or you get the cheap coffee. And the reason we're doing that is because we need to boost the advertising plan for the coffee in order for it to really work. You know what I'm saying? But that's it. That's the plan there. Again, for anyone that doesn't know, until 5 o'clock today, another 52 minutes. We're running a 20% off. It's automatic. You don't need to do anything. A flash sale in our store. And we're not really advertising it anywhere except with you guys. And I send an email out. And I post it on Facebook. And I think on Twitter. But essentially, you can just go in there and add coffee to your cart. And your coffee is automatically going to be 20% off. You can add a t-shirt to your cart. T-shirt's automatically going to be 20% off. And that's just until 5 p.m. So if you've been waiting to try our coffee, but you're like, oh, $15.99 is a little expensive. I hear you, but that's how much it costs. But now's your time to get hooked, okay? Because I know once you buy it, you're going to buy more because it's that good. We guarantee our coffee. If you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. So Wilmington is way too expensive for anything. I just moved there. It's getting way too crowded. I know. I called about one place that's right downtown. There used to be a tech company there. And I was like, can I just have the bottom floor and you guys keep the offices on the top and I'll build it out for a coffee shop? Because it's right down in historic downtown. And they were like, yeah, no. They wanted so much money too. Really what I need is I need places where people have commercially zoned property and that's just flat, already has power, water, maybe a parking lot. And I will just buy a frickin' like one of those sheds. I'll just drop the shed, build the whole coffee shop right inside that shed. Bam. That's really what I should be doing because then it could work as like a drive-through as well. But I don't want to drive through with the coffee. They have to come in because we have to tell them about scanning the cups and all that stuff. But yep. My goal is to, super ambitious goal, but I want to replace Starbucks. I'll start with Black Rifle. I kind of want to open a location everywhere Black Rifle has one. Just right next to it. But Yep. You guys should get your coffee bundles in now, your coffee bug out bags. I'll put the link in the chat again. If you can, use ShopPay. You can break the payment up into 4 payments, super manageable, free shipping because the shipping's included in the price. You're getting all sorts of cool stuff in it. It's the first time we ever did it. Plus, everybody who orders one is going to get a limited edition. It's going to be the first ones we ever did of the Wake Up America in a coffee tin. It's going to be the first one. And we'll likely switch all of our coffee over the next year or so to those tins. But for right now, it's going to be a limited edition one. We're wrapping it in with an American flag. It's going to be awesome. Anyway, this is back on, so I'm going to be quiet now. I will see all of you guys most likely tomorrow if I do go home.
Bring the jury.
You won't hear me anymore, but we'll see. I'm going to stay here for a little bit, but... Wait, hold on. Someone said, Kevin said, the only thing I would ever want from Starbucks is sandwiches if I be the one buying. Oh, yeah, Kevin, you want to know something funny? The Starbucks sandwiches are all frozen. Yeah, like a Jimmy Dean, that's essentially what Starbucks is. They don't cook anything there. They use infrared heaters. It's all frozen. Isn't that insane? I didn't even know that till a couple of weeks ago. Every bit of their food is frozen. All of their pastries, everything. It's crazy.
So
All right, thank you. Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Murdaugh, we spent a long time yesterday and a fair amount of time today talking about your financial misdeeds.
Yes, sir.
Have you been criminally charged for those financial crimes?
I have been.
And you have pending charges against?
I do.
You were asked specifically about $792,000 in Ferris fees that you diverted from the law firm. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And I think you were asked about an accounting or where that money went, and it went out pretty quickly, roughly.
Yes, sir.
And you recall testimony that over $500,000 went to Curtis Eddie Smith.
I do.
And what would that have been for?
That would have all been for pills?
For opioids?
Yes, sir. Specifically, all I was taking at that time was oxycodone and OxyContin.
And you were an addict, were you not?
I am an addict.
You are an addict. And did you repeatedly lie to those you love to cover up your addiction?
I did.
And were you concerned that you would be exposed if you didn't continue to lie about your conduct?
I did.
There's some specific things you were asked about, which I'd like to go over. One thing you had referred to a text message that you'd seen later on between Maggie and Blanca. Do you recall that?
I do.
And it's in the evidence as Defendant's Exhibit 54. And Doug, if you could pull that up, please, sir. And if you could highlight the Blanca text. Is this the text message you're referring to?
It is.
And I'll just read it. It says, T.Y., that's thank you. It says, T.Y., I'm waiting at Dr. Alex wants me to come home. I had to leave door open at Edisto, but trust Mexicans to shut and lock for me. His dad is back in the hospital. The last doctor claims not cancer, it pneumonia. And then she has some faces. Alex is about to die. Hope he doesn't go down there to sleep. Alex needs to take care of himself as well. Is that the text message you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
And did Blanca share this message with you after Maggie was murdered?
Blanca ultimately she shared that with me. She first told me that, Maggie was worried about me, how much she loved me, and that she was worried about me, and had texted her.
Okay. Now, you were asked, you can take it down, Doug. You were asked questions about conversations around the dinner table on the 7th about, well, we didn't eat at the table, but around while you were eating dinner about Paul's health. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Alec, I'm going to show you two exhibits, Defendants 179 and 180, and ask if you can identify these two.
I can.
And what are they?
It's text from let's see, it's a text from Paul to me on May the 30th.
And then, and what's 180? Exhibit 180 behind it.
That's a picture of Paul's feet.
Your Honor, would move Defendants Exhibits 179, 180 into evidence at this time without objection, I believe.
Without objection, Your Honor.
Submitted.
Well, do you have 179? Or we've got to, let me put it on the Elmo, please. Alec, do these, this text message refer to Paul's feet swelling?
They do.
So if you'll do, you can pull it up. All right, go up a little more so we can read it. And it says, from Paul, and that phone number, is that your phone number?
That is. It's my phone number, 1227. My feet swole up. It has something to do with my blood pressure. Get me an appointment as soon as it's convenient.
And what's the date of this?
May the 30th.
2021, right?
Yes, sir.
And if, Doug, if you'll show the picture, I believe this is a blow-up of the picture that's in this Exhibit 180. Can you pull out? Is that a picture of that Paul had sent you of his feet swelling up?
It is.
Is this what y'all discussed, when you're eating dinner?
Yes.
Okay.
Along with many other times.
You'd also, you were asked questions about your dad's condition and whether he was terminal or not. Do you remember that?
I do remember questions about him.
Okay, and, gosh, Doug, I think it's, the extended timeline, is it states 5:30, is that the right number? States 5:20, if you'll pull it up, please. It's already in the evidence. And if you'll go to page 14. And if you'll blow up the entry at 142.54 at the bottom of the page. Alex, is this a text that you and we'll, do you recall this is the text that you and other family members received about your father's condition?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it says, Daddy was just seen by the pulmonologist in Savannah. His opinion is dramatically different from the other doctors. He thinks Daddy has pneumonia and needs to be hospitalized to be treated for pneumonia. He thinks there could be an obstruction, but is more confident that it is all or mostly pneumonia. Daddy is being admitted to Candler St. Joseph Hospital now. He will have a study done to see whether or not there is an obstruction, and his treatment will be tailored accordingly. Right now, his pulmonologist does not. Go to the next page. Does not believe that he'll be getting radiation treatment, and in fact, the pulmonologist says that the palliative radiation treatment to try to open the airway is a Hail Mary. In his opinion, would most likely not work. Then it goes on to say, if he is right, and this is pneumonia, is much more treatable and can certainly give the immunotherapy a chance to work. Is that what you're referring to?
That's the text I was talking about that came when talking to Jeannie Seckinger.
Okay. And and this wasn't a terminal diagnosis on the 7th, was it?
Not on the 7th. That was actually a little bit of positive news.
Okay.
It was short-lived, but it was positive at the time.
You can take that down for now, Doug. But stay on that exhibit. Alec, you were asking, if you'll go to page 46, please, the same exhibit, 520. Page 46. And if you'll highlight and blow out the 902.18, Alec Murdaugh's iPhone shows. Now, Alec, do you remember being asked about these steps, 283 steps traveled during this period of time?
I do.
And I think you testified your belief was you're just getting ready to leave to go to your mom's house. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, that would have been the time I was right before I left to go there.
And you were, looks like you had made some phone calls during this period of time, correct?
Yes, the record show.
Alec, did you have Maggie's phone with you at any time between 9:02 and 9:06?
I didn't have Maggie's phone with me any time that night.
And Doug, if you'll go to page 45, please. If you go to the entry at 8:53:15 to 8:55:32. What am I missing? Can you go, you're missing it. Go up one more entry, please. The one that, no, the one that records steps, please. And then take it all the way to the bottom, Doug. Thank you. This is in evidence, and this is Agent Rudowski's timeline, and it says Maggie Murdaugh's phone, iPhone shows 59 steps traveled between 8:53:15 and 8:55:32. Were you walking with Maggie Murdaugh's phone during that period of time?
I wasn't walking with Maggie's phone any time that night.
And if you'll look at Agent Rudowski's entries, is there entry of her phone showing steps during any time between 9:02 and 9:06? Do you see any on this page from 8:53 to 8:55?
No, sir.
If you'll turn the next page, page 46. Going down to your steps. Is there any recording of phone steps, phone recording steps, according to the data we now have for Maggie's phone at any point in time up to 9:02?
No, sir.
And had you repeatedly asked SLED to get the data from the OnStar, from the cell phones, to evaluate whether your phone and Maggie's phone were ever moving at the same time? You made that multiple requests.
I repeatedly asked David Owens about that information.
And when you asked that question, were you aware that Maggie's phone had been located, down the road a mile half a mile or more? Is that right?
Yeah, I knew where her phone had been located.
And why was it important to you to get that information?
Because I knew that whoever had done this to them had Maggie's phone. And I knew that my phone and Maggie's phone and my car were never together. At any point in time.
Sure. Now, you have given inaccurate times in many statements to law enforcement in this case, have you not?
I did.
And we reviewed some of those in your direct examination. One was Paul getting to Moselle around 5 p.m. Do you remember that?
I do.
Were you lying to Agent Owens or anybody when you said Paul got there at 5 p.m.?
No, I wasn't lying to him. I thought that at the time.
And when you...
Most of the times or a lot of the times when I gave times, I qualified them and say, but, you can look at this. I pointed them to my office, to the call log, to the key card like we talked about, or my phone, or my OnStar.
And when you told the agents that you thought you got to the office 8:30, 9 o'clock on that morning of June 7th, well, you were wrong, right?
I was wrong.
Were you lying?
No, I wasn't lying.
And when Deputy Green drove up and you had your first encounter with him, I believe you told him that you had been gone to your mom's house for an hour and a half. Is that right? We just heard it.
The last one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hour and a half. I think that is what I told him.
Hour and a half. And that the last time you saw Maggie and Paul was 45 minutes before that.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And when you spoke to Deputy Green, it was about, I think the records show they didn't arrive on the scene until 10:22 or something like that. Is that right?
That sounds right. I think that's what the records show. That sounds right.
And that were you lying to excuse me, Deputy Green, when you told him what time, how long you thought you'd been at your mother's and the last time you saw Maggie and Paul?
No, sir, I wasn't lying to him.
Were you trying to mislead him in any way?
No, sir, not when Mr. Green got there.
Now, you've admitted in the first few questions that I asked you yesterday and multiple times today that you lied to Agent Owen and Deputy Rutland and Agent Owen and Agent Croft and on a couple occasions about your whereabouts following dinner, correct?
I did lie to them, as we discussed
And
repeatedly.
And you've explained that it was this addiction, opioid-induced paranoia you just couldn't shake. Is that right?
That's right. You know, like I said, there's certain things, anything that make you paranoid, but I could get over it really quickly. But that night, I didn't.
And you had a bag of pills in your pocket, did you not?
I did.
And when you got down to the kennels, we're not going to repeat all that, but I mean, did you ever see anybody down there, anybody else?
No, there was nobody. There wasn't anybody down there when I was there.
And did you believe that the information, whether you were there or not there, would advance their investigation in any way?
No, I didn't. I didn't think that.
And why didn't you think that?
Because they were fine and doing good when I left there.
Did on the 911 call, do you remember that the call first went to Hampton?
I don't remember that, but I know that now.
And what we played here in the court in your testimony was the Colleton County handoff. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
Okay.
I think at some point the part in Hampton might have gotten played too, didn't it? But I know the main part was the Colleton
Right.
part, but it was like a minute into the call.
But initially it went to Hampton, then subsequently it was transferred to Colleton.
That's right.
And then a minute or so into the Colleton call, you said, "I've been up to it now." Do you remember that?
I do remember saying that. I remember hearing it. I don't remember saying that, but I remember hearing it.
Okay.
And that's, I mean, that is accurate. And by up to it, at that point, I had gone all the way up to them at that point. When I first got out, I was close, but I wasn't right at them, I don't think.
Right. You were asked about the roadside shooting, and your intent was to end your life that day, was it not?
It was, no question.
And you were shot but not killed, and then you made up a lie to law enforcement about what happened, right?
That's correct.
Were you trying to protect Curtis Eddie Smith by doing that?
Was I trying to protect Curtis Eddie Smith?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I don't know exactly. It all had to come together so quick. I don't know that I was trying to protect Curtis Eddie Smith.
Okay.
I may have been, but it was just, you know, I wasn't supposed to be there. And then I was.
When you say I wasn't supposed to be there, what do you mean by that?
I intended for him to, I mean, I intended to be gone. I intended for him to shoot me, and I intended to be gone. And the one thing, my main concern at that point was that I did not want Buster. I did not want Buster knowing that I had tried to do that.
Okay.
That was my motivation, in telling that story.
I see. Did you eventually voluntarily convey to Agent Kelly and others that that was a fabrication?
I did. After, I don't know, a few days in detox, when I finally got over those initial, just where I could function, I think I told you first, then I think I told Buster, then I think I told Randy and John, and y'all arranged either the next day or 2 days later to come, and we called Ryan Kelly.
Well, you've lied to your family over many years, have you not?
I lied to my family about my addiction.
And you hid from them you were stealing client money, did you not?
Oh, I never, they didn't know anything about that.
And you've lied to your law partners about financial dealings and perhaps your addiction?
Yes.
And you've lied to law enforcement about not going down to the kennels after dinner, but eating dinner and taking a nap. Did you not?
I did.
Alec, did you murder Maggie?
I would never hurt Maggie.
Did you murder Paul?
I would never hurt Paul. If I was under the pressure that they're talking about here, I can promise you I would hurt myself before I would hurt one of them. Without a doubt.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Waters.
Please, court. You said that you were concerned when you talked to David Owen about the bag of pills in your pocket, correct?
I mean, no, sir, I'm not saying that I was concerned about that. I don't think I told you I was concerned about that. I'm just telling you that was a fact. I had a bag of pills in my pocket, and that was one of the things, that was one of the many things that came together that night.
And you're trying to tell this jury that as a reasonable husband and father in this situation, concern about a bag of pills in your pocket was more important to you than telling law enforcement and narrowing the time when you last saw your wife and son alive. That's what you want to convince this jury of?
No, sir, because, I mean, the bag of pills in my pocket was not what I was concerned about sitting in there. It was, as I said, it was one of the many things that was going on. But I wasn't sitting there worried about those pills in my pocket.
You were asked about requesting the phone and automobile data, and that was because as a prosecutor and a lawyer, you had been manufacturing an alibi to cover your tracks.
No, sir, that's absolutely wrong.
You admit you were wrong about a lot of things in what you told law enforcement about June 7th, correct?
I was wrong about things. Some things.
You were asked whether or not you voluntarily confessed to Agent Kelly But you only did so after being confronted with undeniable information, correct?
No, sir, that's not correct at all. What I was told is that, and I believe this came from Randy, what I was told is that SLED had come up with some information that seemed like it was consistent with my story, and they needed me to verify some things, is what they told me. And, you know, I knew that resources had already been wasted. I didn't want them wasting any more resources, and I told them the truth, but there wasn't any, nobody had presented me with any evidence.
And you just testified that you told Jim Griffin first, correct?
I believe that I told Jim Griffin first.
But at that time, you didn't say anything about those kennels, did you?
To Jim Griffin at that
Correct.
time? No, sir, I didn't.
When you testified on direct yesterday, and you were asked about leaving the kennels with your new story, in light of the evidence that's been presented in this trial, your words were, "I got out of there," correct?
I believe that's what I said, yes, sir.
And you also said during your testimony on cross-examination that you hurt the ones you love the most, didn't you?
I did say that.
Thank you. Nothing further.
In saying that, Mr. Waters, I just want to explain that answer. I mean, he just asked me a question about what I said, and then I was going to explain why I said it.
All right.
As I told you earlier, you're implying to this jury and to me that that was me talking about hurting Maggie and Paul. And that's not what that was. What that was is me saying, I know I hurt my brother, my partners, my clients, many of whom I told you I loved, all of whom I cared for. And that's what that was when I'm talking about how my misdeeds, how I hurt the people worst were the ones I loved the most.
I just asked you what you said, correct, Mr. Murdaugh?
You did ask me what I said, but in asking me that, you're putting an implication on there that I am explaining.
I just asked you what you said.
Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Step down. Let's all stand for a moment while council approach. Be seated, please. Well, we've come to the end of this week, and we will adjourn now and resume at 9:30 Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Do not discuss the case or allow yourself to be exposed to any information concerning the case. And we'll see you Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Jury is excused.
That's crazy. So they're not letting their special witnesses testify today?
Order.
Everyone be seated, please. Regarding scheduling, first up Monday morning, Mr. Karpoulian.
Your Honor, we anticipate having 4 witnesses on Monday. They would probably average an hour apiece. So I would suspect by lunchtime we would be, no?
Early afternoon.
Early afternoon, I'm told by Mr. Griffin, resting our case. And of course, Mr. Waters indicated he'll have 1 or 2 reply witnesses.
Couple right now, Your Honor. Obviously, we need to assess that when they complete their case, but it would not be lengthy.
The question, what day next week do we do argument and charge?
Well, it's all unpredictable. As we can see from today, it's pretty unpredictable.
I'm guessing, I'd hope Tuesday. I don't think that's going to be, if they have any reply witnesses. Wednesday would be more of a target, I'm just saying a target date that we can begin thinking about in terms of argument and charge. To that end, are you going to set a time limit on arguments, or are you going to just let us do whatever we want?
I do not set time limits on argument.
With that in mind, Mr. Griffin and I mean, they get 2 arguments. We perhaps would like to split our final argument, which would, we think, with 4 weeks of testimony in there, it's going to be difficult for one person to digest all of that. There's no problem with that, is there?
All right. I would object to that. I think Your Honor's rules and general practice is consistent with one counsel handling argument.
Your Honor, I've seen it done both ways, and with 4 weeks of testimony, I think it's very difficult for one person, and we only get 1 argument.
I've never done it, and I'm not inclined to do it. I'll look it over and consider it, but I'm not inclined to allow the defense to split closing arguments.
We would agree to a 2-hour limit. Does that maybe incentivize to look at this?
We'll look at it. I'm not inclined to do it. It's unprecedented, as far as I know, in the state of South Carolina, except perhaps where you've been able to convince someone to the contrary.
I've actually objected to it when I was on his side of the courtroom.
Well, we have some days to think about that. Regarding closing arguments, I think we've emailed you all a few days ago concerning any requested charge or charges that you might have.
We'll get those to you this weekend, if that's acceptable.
We'll try to do that, Your Honor, but we're preparing witnesses. How about Monday night?
That's fine.
Okay.
Anything else before we adjourn?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
Okay, 4:49. We are adjourning for the weekend.
Weird trial, man. This has been a weird trial because we haven't heard any evidence that he actually committed the crime. That's the craziest part of it. Has there been any evidence? Granted, we only watched this testimony, but for the people that have been watching this trial, has there been any evidence that he actually committed the crime? Like, at all? They don't have the murder weapon. He's got an alibi. They say he manufactured his alibi. He's got an alibi. It's to me, it's just very odd. The whole thing. They can't convict him on murdering his wife and son because he was a ruthless, cruel-hearted thief, but they're trying to. Yeah. It's just weird. He had no blood splatter on him. He had gunshot residue, but he was handling a shotgun. That wasn't the weapon that was used to shoot them. The whole thing is just weird. And didn't they have a witness that said that the gun that they allege he owned, the witness said was stolen prior to this day, and that witness was someone else, not connected to it? It's weird, dude. Someone said he totally lied about his alibi, only admitting to the lies when forced. There's been nothing proven. There's been nothing proving that he lied about his alibi. I'll be honest, Jay Lancaster, I'm starting to think you would be a really bad juror. I'll be honest. Based on some of your comments today, dude, I think you would be a horrible juror. I wouldn't want you on my jury if I ever committed a crime. Because I think you are just like, or it seems that some people don't believe in actually like looking up what, like, the truth. You can't convict someone based on the belief that they did something. Do you know what I mean? You can't. Nobody can. You can't convict someone on the belief that they did something. You can only convict them on the trial. And you said, Jay said, I've watched this trial from the beginning and I couldn't be on the jury because I know the people. Okay, so you're biased, which is why you have your opinion. Got it. Right, because if you know the people involved, then you're biased, and therefore, obviously, you're going to, show your bias by your comments. Now that makes a lot of sense. You should have said that in the beginning, because it would have made all your comments make it quite a bit more sense. See, and now I'm okay, because at first I'm just like, is he just deliberate? I mean, if you believe in the justice system and you believe in the court system, you have to believe that in order to find someone guilty, you have to actually provide evidence that he's guilty. Someone said if he shot his son at point blank range, he would have been covered in blood. Yeah. And now what were they trying to say? He changed his clothes. However, the clothes that he was wearing had gunshot residue on it. It tested positive for the shotgun. It doesn't make any sense. But his hands didn't, right? Or like they didn't have, I don't know, it's weird. That's weird. Someone said he was at the kennel within minutes of the murder and saw no one when he left. Yeah, I don't know. But again, it's evidence. It's evidence. What evidence has been put forth that proves that he's guilty? And like I said, he told the police he was at his mother's for an hour, tried to get his mom's sitter to say he was there for an hour, but he was there for 20 minutes driving at 80 miles an hour on a 2-lane highway to and from his mom's. All right, but he has an alibi. He wasn't there. At least that's what, he has a valid alibi. Listen, I don't know. The dude sounds like a real scumbag, but if I was on the jury right now, I'd be like, yo, he's guilty as shit of defrauding people. Based on what I've heard so far, and granted, I missed the entire first portion of the trial. So, I shouldn't be citing an opinion, but I would be like, yeah, not guilty for murder. I haven't heard anything. Someone said the forensics says he couldn't have shot them at 3 feet away. He's over 6 feet tall. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. And like I said, what I'm going to do after this trial concludes is we're going to go every night. We're going to watch this trial. So every night I'm going to replay this trial from the beginning. We'll skip through all the breaks. We'll skip through boring testimony. So if there are people that have watched the whole trial, and we're going to watch the entire trial from the very beginning. And then we'll see. And it will be faster because we could skip through. My goal would be to do a full day's worth in a 3 or 4 hour period and we'll do consecutive nights. I'll just do it. It's been 20 days of trial so far. So we'll just do it as soon as the trial's over. We'll start at day 1 and work our way through, because now I'm curious. I'm very curious, because it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. Anyway, I'm going to go home. Guys, you got 4 minutes left. 4 minutes left for the big sale that we got going on in our store. It's called the Flash Sale. All of our coffee, all of our t-shirts, and all of our hoodies are 20% off. You don't need to do anything. Just add them to your cart. But you literally only have 5 minutes left. It ends at 5 o'clock. I'm not going to be able to do anything to change that. But get it in there. Get your orders in there. And then we'll go from there. But I appreciate all of you guys for watching. I will be live tomorrow night for a Night Crew episode. I'm not going live tonight. But I'll be live tomorrow night for a Night Crew episode. So that'll be a later show around 8 o'clock. We'll stay live for several hours. Just talking about stuff. But I'm going to go home. I'm going to relax with my wife and kids. And I'm going to watch Live on Patrol tonight, and then open the coffee shop and get all these orders out and coffee packed and yeet. So get your orders in. If you order coffee today, you will get a shipping notice tomorrow. It may not be dropped off at the post office until Monday, but I pretty much got all of the coffee orders, unless you ordered Awake Not Woke today. I got all of them out already. Like, you could check your tracking already. Like, who's the last person who ordered? That I shipped out. That was Brittany. Brittany S. You ordered the Italian, right? Yeah, whole bean Italian roast. That shit's already at the post office. Go track that. Go look at that. You ordered that, what, less than 2 hours ago. Bada boom. That's how awesome we are. All right, so get your orders in, please, okay? I need a lot of you to buy this. You know, like, my birthday's coming up in like 4 months. Buy that for you. For me, for a birthday present. Like, buy it. Because I want to get the special sealer for the coffee cans, and I would like to get or start working towards getting the super automatic coffee maker, which means that we'll get bigger much faster. So anyway, guys, I will see all of you tomorrow night, and we'll go from there.